Flow shoes is what I'm going to be talking about today, my beautiful super soul sisters, and thank you so much for joining me once again today, and congratulations on taking the next step to a newer, better, improved you and towards a healing journey as well, like so learning how to sort of cope with where you're at and dealing with the overwhelm that we all seem to be thrown into in this very busy world that us lovely ladies have. So today I'm going to talk about going with the flow, because this is one of the things that I find that, you know, we often get challenged with is, I love what Eckhart Tolle talks about, you know, and also the Buddhists' ways, the Buddhist system. They talk about, you know, when you truly accept what is, then there is no stress. But half of that is being able to accept that what is happening is just happening, and that you have to actually go with the flow. So it kind of flows on from that, excuse the very poor pun. But the flow side of it is really important, because it's all part of wearing those flexible shoes that I was talking about. If you are not flexible, obviously you're not going to be one of those people who determines the outcome, and ultimately at the end of the day you're going to get really stressed out, you're going to wear yourself out. So I'll just give you a little analogy. Like in Zimbabwe, where I grew up, which most of you probably know about by now, we used to go on vacation to a place called Durban in South Africa, where they have, you know, the coastline is beautiful, absolutely stunning. And we used to spend weeks literally sitting on the beach, swimming. And they were big waves, man. They were not small. I've done quite a bit of traveling now in my time because I've been on this planet for so long. But effectively, I haven't found many places that have waves quite like South Africa do, and that was just like sort of part of and parcel of my growing up. So I have tremendous respect for the water, because I know that, you know, you can get sucked into these currents, they can sweep you away, and the lesson in that was that one of the things that we got taught, which is what I'm trying to convey here, is that when you swim against the tide, it wears you out. If you don't accept that you're caught in a current, and sometimes this is just like life, you know, something just blindsides you and just whoo, you're in another current going down this way when you thought you were quite happily going tiddly-dee down this way, and then suddenly something, you know, like the pandemic was a classic for so many people with that. It's like, whoa, where did that come from? How long is this going to last? You know, trying to deny that it was even happening, you know, the effects that having on my business, on my finances, on my family, on my health, on the health of people I care about, all of that. Just, you know, it was a real tidal wave that took pretty much the whole planet off on the side swing. And, you know, and this is the thing, is like, you know, you don't have a choice. You gotta go with that. And that's really why I teach this whole the whole thing of the emotional resilience toolkit. You know, it's like when you suddenly get sideswept like that, how do you cope? How do you handle? So it's all these little steps that I give you for free, you know, in the channel and Facebook group and wherever else, you know, if I'm speaking to you or whatever in an event, helps you to deal with those unexpected challenges. It also helps you to deal with your everyday single life. So that emotional resilience toolkit that, you know, you'll be able to purchase for a really, you know, bargain basement price, really, for you to be able to handle, is going to be invaluable to you and your loved ones, that you can use on both yourself and others. And that's going to be available on the website, and I'll send out emails and stuff, you know, if you're interested. But effectively, at the end of the day, you know, it's kind of like, in this analogy, learning how to swim. And if you have learned, like one of the things that my son has just been on a school camp in Glenorchy, which is near Queenstown. And honestly, only about a month ago, there were 2 tourists that got swept away in the currents there, because they didn't have the respect for the water. They thought they could cross, the river and it was high, and they got caught in the current, they got washed away, and they passed. So one of the challenges that they got presented with, and they teach the kids here, is the respect of the water. So it's one aspect of just respecting it, but knowing that it even exists. Being able to read the water before you get in it is one of my things. That's just on a side note. But sometimes you don't understand, or you don't, it just comes out of nowhere like a flash flood, and boom, you're off in this current that just like takes you. And this is what I had with my white water rafting. Is like suddenly all these people that I was talking about with the Carpe Diem video, if you haven't watched that, you can go back and watch that in the YouTube channel, or in the Facebook group, VICKI JANE Facebook group. But effectively I got sucked into this hole. We tried to get through this wave, the boat flipped, we're all in the water, there weren't enough people to rescue us, and then I got sucked into this whirlpool. And I didn't, like, you know, I'm a strong swimmer and I have respect for the thing, and I mean, if it had anything to do with me, I would have walked around that rapid in the first place. But obviously, you know, you trust what the guides are saying, and it just happened. And so what do you do when you're in that situation? And it does happen. So one of the things that I learned is that, you know, you have to go with the flow. So one of the things that we learned with the currents, like in South Africa, is that if you try and fight that current, you're going to exhaust yourself and you're going to drown. That's fundamentally what happens, okay? Or you can use the current to your advantage. So yes, you know you're going to get sucked out, but here's one of the things: the currents always come back in again. So yes, it may be quite a bit further down, or it may be further out, or whatever, or it'll get into calmer waters where it'll be easier to rescue you, you know, that kind of thing. But you use the current to your advantage. Now, in the case of me being stuck in the whirlpool, not great, but one of the things that I did do was, when I centered myself and got myself calm and got clear about, I've got to help myself to get out of this situation, because, you know, short of the great God, you know, the great divine reaching in and pulling me out, I didn't see much chance of that happening. And one of the things that I thought is, like, well, I'm going around like this, and as I'm going around, I can go with my oar and I can feel if there's a rock or ground or something underneath me that will help me push up. Now, that was, if I had been so caught up in my panic that I didn't do that, I wouldn't have found that way out, if that makes sense. I used what I had with what I did have in that moment. So it's getting real clear about you know, getting in with the flow. Sometimes you don't want to, so that's in the case of a resistance factor. But sometimes, in the great thing about flow shoes is, when you know you're in the flow, on the positive end of it is, like, you know, when you're really enjoying something and you just kind of get into the flow, and it's like with work or something that you're really passionate about doing, and you just get into the flow, and it's like, oh my gosh, the time's just passed. Like, you know, you're using the current, that the life force within you to grow, to flow, to embellish, to get bigger, better. And so, you know, it's a whole different way of, you know, like, oh, I should be doing it the way that everybody else says, or I should be wearing the shoes that, you know, mum and dad told me that I had to wear in order, like with my business or my whatever it is, or career. You know, they've always wanted me to be a doctor or a lawyer or an accountant or a fill in the gap, whatever it is. And you know, that is going against the flow. That is not flowful shoes. You know, you've got to tune into your higher source, do your meditations, like, give yourself some space, like, and find out what the creative in you would like to manifest in this lifetime. Go with that flow, give it an outlet. Maybe you can't do it straight away. Maybe it's that, you know, you have to still do your day job while you do, you know, whatever lights your fire. Get clear on what your actual passion is, but tap the flow and see where it takes you. And, you know, look, I'm not going to say there aren't going to be waves and currents and things that will, you know, knock you off course. Yes, That's all part of the flow thing. You know, that flow doesn't just go like that. It doesn't. You know, there's always waves and curves and dips, and you know, you know what I'm saying. So you've got to be aware, but the fact is, at least you're going with the flow. There's less stress, there's less resistance. In fact, there's no resistance quite often. And I would love to have it where more, you know, more of us wore those shoes, because we're quite often living such a superficial, artificial life that is suited to whatever something outside of us has dictated should be, and it actually doesn't sync with who we are, and we're not going in the flowful direction that we should or want to be actually going. So there's two ways to wear those, you know, those flow shoes. It's like when you're feeling that resistance, you are not going with the flow, okay? That is a signal. So, you know, you feel, you know, irritated, or, you know, upset, or this is like really hard work, or frustrated, or angry, or, you know, just like it's just hard work. Step back, get your flow shoes on, and, you know, you might even do your observer shoes, get your owl shoes on. Observe, like, go, well, you know, I'm fighting this way. What if we went that way? Well, what about that way? You know, you might find two, three different outlets, and it's like, and then tune in and go, well, which way feels more flowful for me? And the parrot shoes will kick in, and it'll say, that's not logical, because, you know, you're not going to make any money out of that, or, you know, there'll be something that comes and says, come, let's suck you back into, you know, this other way. But if you go with the flow, just give it an outlet, even if it's for, you know, half an hour a day, that's something that you're really passionate about, or, you know, you're getting really frustrated in something and you're not finding a way that you could solve it better. Just step back, get your owl shoes on, get your observer shoes on, and you might have to do super owl. You might have to, you know, tap into the bigger beyond by meditating, and see if you can find a solution from there, and then try the flowful outlet. So very useful pair of shoes to have. Great problem solving shoes, actually, but just acknowledgement that you're not in the flow to begin with is a huge one. A lot of people just struggle on, and they're blissfully unaware, and life is a lot harder because of it. So yeah, hope you found that useful. Namaste.